A well-fitting suit to keep you warm, scuba to breathe, and a mask to see makes it as easy as walking down the street.
I'm always trying to take that picture again and again, making it a little bit better each time.
It's like something out of a storybook.
And I was really surprised when we first walked down into the mine. It was like an underground city.
When you go out there, and as soon as you go under the water, you're just in your own world. You can just, you're at peace with yourself, really.
North Carolina, the Tar Heel State. The German submarine, U-352, was christened in August of 1941. On April 4th, 1942, Captain Lieutenant Helmut Rathke's crew cast off the lines and sailed for the east coast of the United States. On May 9th, the Coast Guard cutter Icarus engaged the sub in battle and sent it to the bottom. Rathke and his men were interned in prison camps until the end of the war. Today, the U-352 lies partially intact at the depth of 115 feet. Bathed in Caribbean-like Gulf Stream waters, she is visited often by area divers. To Laurie Farb and Stacy Uptain, every dive on the U-352 is a new adventure.
Although diving is highly adventurous, it's also incredibly relaxing to be underwater in a weightless environment devoid of all human sounds. It's a great escape.
Escape for sailors aboard the stricken German sub was through this conning tower. As the U-352 began to sink, they spilled onto the deck to face the blazing guns of the Icarus.
Besides the adventure of diving, we're both really interested in the history of shipwrecks.
The 750-ton, 220-foot-long U-352 was armed with an 80-millimeter gun, 2 20-millimeter guns, and 5 torpedo tubes, but she never sank a ship. The wreck has become an artificial reef, and fish life is abundant. Some fish live and graze in the rusting hulk. Curious jacks, such as these 4-footers, are common off North Carolina and all along the eastern United States.
Laurie, what'd you think of the dive?
It was fantastic. Great visibility, a lot of fish. It was great.
Stacy, what did you think?
It was fantastic. The tons of fish, and we were able to swim right up to the conning tower and look right in.
Did you see the props and the other open hatches?
Yeah, clear as a bell.
And that torpedo tube is wide
incredible,
open.
Incredible,
It's great.
Stacy Uptain is a 23-year-old Duke University graduate who majored in psychology and sociology. A history buff, she has been diving for 2 years.
Morning, Chris.
Morning. Glad you're here early. We've had a lot of calls, a lot of mail today.
Okay.
It's going to be a busy day.
Stacy is planning to enter medical school and would eventually like to be a surgeon. Now she is taking a year off from her studies to work here at the university. She is a research secretary at Divers Alert Network, an organization that provides information to anyone who calls with a question about the medical aspects of diving. Laurie Farb brews some great sun tea. 25-year-old Laurie lives with her husband Rod on a 17-acre farm in rural North Carolina. As she leaves for work every morning, Laurie stops to say goodbye to Daisy, their 450-pound pet tiger. The 7-year-old Bengal is an endangered species. As a cub, she and her sisters were rejected by their mother. Rod adopted and raised her and is the only mother Daisy knows. Since Daisy had Rod all to herself before he met and married Laurie, she's a little jealous. Laurie has made a special effort to win the tiger's affection. Lori is studying for her master's degree in nursing with a specialty in urology. She works part-time in the hospital at the university and has been diving for 4 years.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
Hey, Stacy. Hey, Lori.
What have you got there?
I just found a chapter in this book about the U-352.
What book is that?
It's about shipwrecks off the North Carolina coast.
Gosh.
Stacy and Lori grew up together.
It says it was one of the
Diving
first
is a
shipwrecks
mutual love,
sunk by the Coast
and they
Guard.
spend as much time as possible underwater.
Look at those.
Because their local waters are littered with shipwrecks, the women have become avid wreck divers.
And did you know that the first sport divers on the wreck found some human remains, and that the Navy had to come in and remove some live torpedoes?
No, I didn't know that. I can't wait to dive it this weekend again.
The stern of the U-352 contains an empty torpedo tube. In 1980, the Navy made nearly 140 dives on the sub, burning and disarming ordnance and torpedoes. Underneath the stern, the women investigate the remaining propeller. Once considered a male-oriented activity, wreck diving today is enjoyed by both men and women.
Lori and I have noticed that more and more women are diving today.
I think that besides women being more independent, it also has to do a lot with better fitting equipment and the new color designs.
We were surprised to find on our last dive that there were 5 women and only 3 men.
North Carolina waters are warm, and only tropical weight wetsuits need be worn. Typical of today's scuba gear, wetsuits are designer attractive and very comfortable. With the emphasis on lightweight, compact equipment, diving has never been easier.
It's really amazing that some ingenious person has taken metal and glass and plastic and put it together in the form of diving equipment to allow me to swim around with a fish for up to an hour.
And one of those fish is a large stingray that takes flight from the women's presence and bright lights. Once, men and women could only dream of stepping back in history to visit a World War II German sub beneath the sea. Today, the dreams of a few have become a reality for many. The Pacific Northwest, lumber empire of the United States. Edmonds, Washington. Just north of Seattle on Puget Sound, this is the home of Edmonds City Underwater Park, the most heavily dived site in all of the Pacific Northwest.
I got a wide angle and a macro set up on 1 to 2. Which one do you want?
I think I'll take macro this time, please.
Jack and Sue Dreyfel are professional photographers. Part of their vocation, as well as their avocation, is underwater photography. Jack is a freelance photographer, and Sue has her own graphics business.
Because diving in the cold water is a little more difficult, we find the easy way to do it. We help each other with our gear, we sit down to put on our tanks if we have to, and that way we don't feel the strain.
Edmonds City Underwater Park offers an easy walk-in beach entry. Designed with divers in mind, it contains 3 submerged wooden structures. Pacific Northwest waters are nutrient-rich. Things grow bigger here.
Diving in the Northwest is really fantastic. I've been diving in the Pacific and the Atlantic and a lot of warm water diving, and it's easy, but it's just really no comparison for me. I'm looking for a variety of animals, and that's really what you find in the Northwest.
Giant white Matridium anemones, up to 1 foot high, grow in mirror images on the wrecks. Since spearfishing is forbidden, fish are abundant and unafraid of divers. A former teacher at Brooks Institute of Photography, Jack met Sue when she was a student in one of his classes.
I got a keen interest in wildlife photography, the photography of reptiles, insects, small animals, and that kind of thing. And eventually I got certified as a diver, and for a while I was just interested in looking at the bottom, but I wanted more, and I saw that there was really no difference of taking close-ups of animals on land as underwater, so I got an underwater system put together and started shooting the animals underwater.
Sue is also adept at taking underwater pictures.
Basically, that's the same story for me. I went to Brooks and was interested in land photography and met Jack and decided to try diving, and then came underwater photography. I loved it, and I've been doing it ever since. As professional photographers, I think we have a different view of the sea. We're able to capture it on film and then to be able to research about it, write stories, and sell to books and publishers. So it's a whole different world for us.
Yes, it is a whole different world. One of delicate beauty, containing animals most people never get to see.
So how about using the starfish and the
Jack and Sue are involved in many aspects of photography, including studio and aerial. Their company produces computer graphics and slide presentations. They are currently working on a slideshow for a class in underwater photography.
I gotta put these on the projector. You want to take a look and see what we got so far?
Okay, I'll be right there.
I enjoy going down, taking the picture, processing it, seeing it in the slide mount, and then sending it off with a script, and then seeing it published in a magazine. And it just sort of reinforces diving. I want to go back and do more.
And they do more in such out-of-the-way places as Clear Lake, Oregon. Visibility is excellent in this spring-fed lake, but the water temperature is 33 degrees.
Diving is one of those sports that really allows somebody to explore space without having to go out into outer space. It's an inner space. It allows you to get away from gravity, so to speak, because you no longer have to physically walk. You swim like a fish. You can roll like a porpoise and a seal through the water, and swim upside down, look into the sun, swim through the forest.
The forest is usually kelp, but here it's a single petrified tree, one of many found in the lake. Formed when a volcanic eruption dammed the Mackenzie River, Clear Lake is in the scenic Cascade Mountains.
I'm in my early 30s, and Jack and I have a daughter that's 6 years old, and we hope to have her diving here very soon. She's sure anxious to. And I plan to be diving for the rest of my life.
Comfortable dry suits are necessary in these cold Pacific Northwest waters. But it's this cold water that provides such a diverse cross-section of larger-than-life things to see. Petrified trees, giant anemones, and delicate, lacy nudibranchs. Missouri, the show-me state. It could be a scene from Gone with the Wind, but in actuality, this is part of a magnificent dive site, the only one of its kind in the world. This is Bonne Terre, Missouri, 60 miles southwest of St. Louis. Bob and Linda Shepro have driven down from Chicago to spend the weekend. They will stay in a mansion and dive in a billion-gallon underground lake that was once a lead mine.
Do they have prospectus out yet?
Yeah, they have one. I'll have to get one from Robert, which we can review. I think it's a great idea.
Linda is a vice president in a private investment company.
I think Chicago needs. I don't know, what do you think about it? Do you think it's a good idea? Or?
Oh, I think they're tremendous. Chicago needs something.
Bob Shepro, 31, is a management consultant in a family-owned business. Certified 5 years ago, he has dived both coasts, the Great Lakes, and the Florida Keys. 30-year-old Linda is a relatively new diver.
Enough of this business talk. Let's go diving.
Bonne Terre was mined for lead, copper, nickel, and zinc for more than 100 years. In 1962, the mine closed down. The pumps that kept it dry were shut off, and it slowly filled with water. 2 of the mine's 3 levels are now underwater.
Caverns, and this is the billion-gallon lake. We've got it illuminated with over 200,000 watts of lighting. Today's first dive is going to
Bonne Terre's 12 trails and clear water attracted between 7,000 and 8,000 divers last year, mostly from the Midwest.
I started diving about 6 years ago. It was something I always wanted to try, so I just looked in the Yellow Pages, found a shop in there, and took their diving lessons, and really enjoyed it.
I will be air checking you.
I think initially I had some fear of the water, and therefore thought, well, I've got to be a great swimmer in order to dive. And when I went into the pool the first time, I was diving immediately, just like all the other people, and it was such a great experience to realize that it was fairly easy to do. It doesn't take a lot of physical exertion. It's more like being on a nature trail, only underwater.
Bonne Terre is dived year-round. The air down in the mine is a constant 62 degrees. The water is always 58. Linda and Bob examine a calcium fall, formed when moisture leaked into the mine before it flooded. Mining implements are found where they were left when the mine was abandoned. Bob and Linda examine a rusty shovel and other tools, along with chunks of ore-rich rocks in an ore car.
Diving is exhilarating, as skiing is exhilarating. One of the other things that I really enjoy about diving, too, is the friends that we've made. And that was one of the things in the beginning I thought, oh, I love skiing because all our friends ski. But it's the same type of people, the same group of people that we meet when we are diving.
Bob examines a ladder leaning precariously toward the surface.
One of the problems that I thought I would have was poor eyesight. I have always had very bad vision and don't even see well without contact lenses or corrective lenses a few feet away. When I first began diving, I wore my contacts with a regular mask underwater and felt confident with that. But as I began to dive more, I thought it was a lot more comfortable and more reassuring to me to get a prescription lens. And now I wear a prescription mask, and I can see perfectly well underwater.
This rusty metal plate is from an old piece of machinery. The divers discover a miner's cabin barely 8 feet square with the window glass still intact. Linda enters, and her exhaled air bubbles cause rusty debris to fall from the ceiling.
Bob and I both work in high-pressure business situations. We work a lot of hours. We work hard and we play hard. And diving, to me, is a total release from work.
It's an activity. It's not really a sport or an athletic event. It's something we just like to do together.
This elevator shaft carried miners to and from the tunnels in which they worked below the surface. Today, divers ascend along its beams when their tour of the mine is over. The powerful lights that illuminate the world's largest man-made cavern lead the divers upward. Almost anywhere you find water, you will find divers, even in such an unusual setting as an abandoned mine. In this liquid environment, history literally surrounds you. And when the diving is over, it's back to the mansion on the hill for some refreshments and elegant cuisine.
The mansion at Bonne Terre, where we stay, has been a pleasant surprise. It's quite elegant, something out of a storybook. You might even expect to see Rhett Butler riding up in the carriage on his way to see Scarlett.
Florida, the Sunshine State.
Hey, Dave. How you doing?
Good.
All right, any problems?
Nope.
All right, when you get done here, jacuzzi upstairs needs to be...
Pete Jack, 41, lives in Jupiter, Florida. He owns an electrical contracting company. His wife, Sharon, 37, is the bookkeeper secretary for the family business.
Hi, honey.
Hi, honey. How was your day?
Oh, it was long, but we got through it. Listen, you about ready to go?
Yes, it's been a long day for me, too. Let's get out of here.
Pete and Sharon are the parents of 2 boys, Brian, 10, and Jeremy, 12. Jeremy is in charge of the family aquarium. A tiny stingray flutters over to say hello. Brian, a gifted student, practices snorkeling in the family pool by retrieving a toy alligator from the bottom. Both boys are also avid soccer players. The Jack family frequently visits the Florida Keys, home of Panacam Park. There are more dive services per mile here than anywhere else in the world.
We got involved in diving through my sister, who was doing a lot of diving. And when we went on our honeymoon down to Grand Cayman, we took the resort course. And then once we came back up to the States, we got our certification.
While Pete and Sharon dive, Brian and Jeremy will snorkel with the dive guide. This dive site in the park, just one of many, is a family favorite, and the Jacks have been here numerous times. Even though the weather topside may be inclement, underwater it won't matter at all. A pair of gray angelfish approach Pete and Sharon, hoping for a handout.
Well, I was really surprised that when you dive, that you don't have a claustrophobic feeling. I was under the impression that once you went down into the water, you would feel claustrophobic, but the water was so clear that you could see for 100 feet, probably. And it was just a very exciting feeling of being free. It was very, very quiet, and I enjoyed it very much.
I think when you're down there, you know, even though you can only see 100 feet or so, it's still a lot of light. It's not like you're in a black box or anything like that. And it's always, as you move along, always new stuff is cropping up.
Many varieties of corals and brilliantly colored sponges grow in the Caribbean-like waters of the Keys. Diving in the Florida Keys is very special. The water temperature ranges between 70 in the winter and 85 degrees in the summer. Fish life is extremely prolific, with schools of grunts and snappers swirling just out of reach. The park rules protect the fish from spearfishing and the corals from being collected. A favorite pastime for many divers is fish feeding. While Pete and Sharon provide a handout of potato chips, Brian and Jeremy observe from above.
So we were with my aunt about 2 years ago, and we saw this shark. It was about 5-foot shark. Its name is George, and I wasn't scared.
The boys delight in their own version of snorkel tag. Swooping down on their mom and dad, they tag them on the head and speed out of reach. While Jeremy and Brian enjoy snorkeling because it is fun, their parents delight in the educational aspects. An encounter with this jellyfish aroused Jeremy's interests, and he wrote a paper on it for one of his classes. Sharon and Pete enjoy teaching their sons about the marine life they see. The Christ of the Abyss is a 9-foot-tall bronze statue. Sitting in 25 feet of water, it is a replica of a statue found off the coast of Italy. It was donated by Egidio Cresci, founder of a dive equipment company. Hundreds visit the site each year, and the fish, including this barracuda, are diver pets. Diving or snorkeling in the Florida Keys is an exciting adventure that transcends age. Like scuba diving across America, it creates memories that will last a lifetime and provides experiences we never dreamed were possible. Scuba.